Star Trek 57, M23, take 2.
Star Trek Podcast.
Imagínate que estamos casados.
Wow, mujer. A ver.
Y pasamos cada segundo juntos. Y después se convierte en una transacción de negocios. Hablamos, pero no hablamos. Después nos estancamos, literalmente. Camino a ver a la familia para Navidad, se nos rompe el carro. ¡Ah! Ahora estamos estancados en un motel de mierda. Vamos a un bar a tomar algo. Cosa que no hacemos hace mucho tiempo. Y estoy pensando en tener una affair con mi amigo del trabajo.
¿Esta eres tú siendo romántica?
At this bar, you tell me something about yourself. I've known you for 10 years and it brings me to tears. I never knew that. That's what I want you to tell me now. Before you fly away. The fundamental, deepest truth that in another life it took me a decade to learn about you.
The song I was thinking of that I was just trying to sing, it's the one that goes do 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 do
That's some of that Anna Magdalena Jenks.
Anna Magdalena?
Anna Magdalena.
Anna Magdalena? Onomatopoeia? Mr. Dabalina, Mr. Bob Dabalina.
Mr. Bob Dabalina.
Goes Mr. Dabalina, Mr. Bob Dabalina. That's how it goes.
All right. I'm out of the loop on this one.
It's quite a song, yes.
Yeah, it's all a bunch of nonsense blurred together anyway.
It's a bunch of hooey.
It's a bunch of hee-haw. Hoo-ha he.
And ho, ho, ho.
Okay.
Okay, what are we going to do now, guys?
Okay. Let's get into
We're going to talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Whoa, awesome.
Generally speaking, we would be talking
I like
about
Usagi Yojimbo.
Star Trek. What are we? We're the It's Got Star Trek podcast.
Wait, we're on episode 128.
We are on episode 128. Thanks for that. Thanks for that, Dan.
I got it. I've never gotten it before.
I think you must
Where,
have.
dude?
You must have gotten it.
No.
Correct. All right.
I must?
Okay. It's Got Star Trek. It's a podcast. This is episode 128 of that podcast. And we are discussing this week Picard, season 2, episode 8.
Mercy.
Mercy.
Have mercy.
That's right. Now,
Who says that? Who says that? Have mercy. Have mercy.
You're tossing out some obscure references.
Have mercy. I'm doing a bit terrible voice of it, but I'm trying to.
Well, that's not helping then.
Yeah, it's I'm trying to do the when Uncle Jesse Katsopoulos does.
Oh, on Full House.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Oh,
Is it Katsopoulos or Konsopoulos? I can't remember.
That's a
Katsopoulos?
very deep cut.
I'm not sure.
Deep
man.
cut.
Okay.
Okay, let's go.
Star
I'm sorry.
Trek. Star Trek Picard.
No more silliness.
No more silliness. Although
It's too silly.
I do have a confession. The confession I have is that today I am going noteless. I didn't have time
Noteless?
to cobble together my traditional dense series of notes.
My notes are minimal.
What's gonna happen? What are we gonna do?
We're going without a net,
What
man.
if we run out of things to say?
All right, well, then we'll just have to close up shop, or
I
we'll-
don't think that's ever a problem.
Or we'll switch
that's-
over to talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That's my biggest fear is that we'll just run out of things to say.
How would you respond
talk
to you
about
think?
other shit
You want to
then.
simulate that scenario? Like Star Trek, Captain Picard,
I'd probably go like, and
I
so the thing, right? What is about that? thing is, what we were just saying. What did we say a minute ago?
You're doing a very good simulation of this. All right.
I don't think you would ever do that, though.
No,
I don't
hopefully,
think this would ever
hopefully it
happen.
won't come to that. But so I'm a bit untethered today. I expect the listeners will notice very little difference from a normal episode.
But we're learning this just now too. So
Oh, now you guys are all freaked out.
Well, I'm fine.
You guys have
It turns
notes.
out Dan doesn't have any notes either.
Oh, I have notes.
Dan's always got tons of
Really
notes.
good notes.
He's got a bunch of numbers written.
I'm trying to
down
rely
Johnny
less on
Notes.
notes. Johnny Notes.
Johnny numbers.
Speaking of Johnny, names that start with a J. This was directed by Joe Menendez.
Right.
Not the Menendez.
Not
brother.
one of the Menendez brothers.
No.
Who are both, I believe, remain incarcerated.
Yeah, I don't know who Joe Menendez is as a director.
Seems to be a nobody.
Well, he's somebody now.
He's no Joe Menosky. Joe Menosky.
Yeah, none
There's no
of
Jonathan
that.
Frakes.
All right. So where to begin? Episode 8.
With the kid,
Mercy.
did we ever find the name of the kid
Mercy.
policeman? The policeman, was he FBI or was he the
Wells.
police?
His name is Wells.
Yeah.
And people on the internet have been discussing the fact that this actor
Smells.
played
This actor smells.
This actor played a character on Voyager on the episode Relativity,
yeah,
in which
totally.
he was on a spaceship named Relativity, which is part of the Time Cops or whatever. And the ship he was on was a Wells class ship.
Oh man.
So people were saying that his name being Wells was either an Easter egg or it was a clue
He becomes a time cop.
that he either becomes a time cop or was a time cop or is a time cop. Now, the events of this episode suggest that that's not the case. And
I mean,
unless he might have to take a youthfulness serum in order to, if he does become the character that ends up on that Relativity ship, because
A youthfulness serum.
Well, because he's significantly older now.
I think there's a hype
physically than he was on that show. So probably he's a new character played by the same actor with a few little Easter eggy tidbits.
the way they left it seems like this guy's gonna end up.
Jesse's fidgety today, so he's making mouth noises. This is what all podcast audiences love. Actually, what
That's
they
not
love,
me, that's Dan.
what they love the most. What they love the most is chewing on wet food.
Oh man,
Wet food.
I'm getting grossed out just thinking about it.
Yeah, but we did that whole We did a whole podcast episode on pickles.
though. Yeah, but
And it's a
a lot of-
highly successful, highly
crunchy.
rated episode of
is it
ours.
highly rated? Nobody rated it.
Maybe nobody rated it, but tons of fucking people downloaded it and listened to it.
Fair
and,
enough.
They talked about it on Twitter. And there's a lot of wet mouth noises.
Well,
wet food
people
mouth
knew what
noises
they were
in that
getting
one.
into,
But
so I would.
crunching also.
That's true.
I
We
would
did
ar-
warn people ahead of time.
I would argue it was fetishists to listen to the episode.
You would argue that.
I would argue that.
I thought you were going to say I would argue that people were warned, and so they self-selected into whether or not they would enjoy the
I'm
episode.
saying the
Listen
episode
to
is.
the It's Got Pickles podcast.
I'm saying it's not successful because of anything other than the fact that people just want to get really dirty and perverted with it.
I'm cool with that. If we
I'm
can,
cool
if
with
we
that.
could be a part of the
Dirt
a
bird.
positive part of their life in that way, I'm glad to have helped.
Yeah, good.
Whether mere entertainment or some sort of sexual thrill.
Yeah, as long as you're being excellent to each other,
Be
it's all-
excellent
yeah.
to each other and ask for consent, please.
So yes, oh yes.
Yes.
We were saying about
Bill and Ted. Right?
yeah, 69, dude.
And Bill and Ted Bogus Journey filmed at the Vasquez Rocks, which is a frequent filming
yeah.
location for Star Trek,
Hey.
including in first season of Star Trek Picard.
Nice tie-in,
Yeah.
nice tie-in, baby.
I'm not jokingly.
Not jokingly. Then there's that guy who played the Grim Reaper, who was in Shawshank Redemption.
William Sadler.
Yeah,
and
and other things
He was
too.
on Deep Space Nine. He played.
Was he?
Yeah.
I knew it.
He played the Section 31 fella who was fixing to play around with Bashir.
He was fixing.
He was
to.
fixing to play around with Bashir.
What do you think about using the word fixins when you're talking about putting stuff on your sandwich? Do you like to say I put all the fixins on it, or does that feel like really kind of like low,
I got
low
nothing
rent or
against.
something?
I got no. I got
like to
nothing
say
against
toppings.
it. I got
Toppings, yeah.
absolutely nothing against it. I champion the use of that phrase
Got all
by,
the fixins.
by the people who feel comfortable doing it. I do
Yeah.
not feel comfortable
Yeah.
saying, "Give me that hamburger
I think it's
with
acceptable.
all the fixins."
You should go to-
Acceptable usage for sure, but just not me.
I don't
Yeah.
know what fixings they have in that particular restaurant.
Well, you go
so
to-
I don't feel comfortable asking for all the fixins.
Right.
You just
because I don't know what they're going to put on it.
Oh, so
the
you-
trimmings.
so
all
you-
the trimmings.
So what about a burger? Was that any? But it feels
What if
different.
they put a bunch of tuna fish on there?
It feels different than saying
Fuck, man.
a burger with everything on it, though. Because when you say it's got all the fixins, it sounds just like
It's all the extra
It's like there's
accoutrements.
stuff in it.
It's like it's just
accoutrements.
it's just
Sweet
the,
potatoes.
It's just the sound
The
of the word.
accoutrements.
It's like I want all the fixins. It's like it's not something I would say.
It's like,
How
is
did
there,
we
is there
get-
like gravy on there? Like,
I mean, which is worse, is to say all the fixins or everything on it, or you? So you guys more have a problem with what they put on it, what you get as a result. My problem is with saying it, saying at the beginning.
I don't know how this conversation started. We're talking about Star Trek.
you don't have
Picard.
any notes.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
that's right. I don't have any notes.
Okay, back-
I'm not able to do the coxswain, pulling the ropes,
Coxswain,
yelling out commands.
They always said coxswain.
No one's at the tiller.
So this Wells guy, right?
Yes.
Smells.
FBI agent Fox Wells.
Yes. No. What is he actually?
His name is like Ira.
What is he?
I mean, it
He's
was
a
Ira
human
Wells.
man.
What part of the thing is he in? Is he just some alien FBI?
No, he
weirdo?
said FBI. He was an FBI agent.
But he was like a Fox
Apparently,
Mulder.
he was an unliked FBI agent. Although
Yeah.
he had enough pull to get that raid in the first place.
Yeah. Well, Fox Mulder could do that too, probably. So,
yeah.
but is it only because of Scully that he could pull that off?
Fox Mulder also had that whole thing going with his relationship to his dad and his sister being stolen and DNA and this, that, and the other thing.
So, what I was trying to
Fucking
say,
bees.
what I've been trying to say,
X-Files and the bees.
and the bees. Oh, not the bees. What about? Oh boy, honey and bees is vomit. Honey is bee vomit. So this guy Wells, right? So they had this whole episode,
The entire episode.
with this whole side thing, and it kind of ended up
Totally on the side.
and it ended up, and I'm just saying what surface level from what we know so far.
Both on the side and the surface. This is some strategic
He goes,
two-dimensional
but-
shit.
Well, the side is a surface.
Okay, no, look. So Picard says like,
Fair point.
Picard
I
says,
retract my previous statement.
okay, when Picard says to the guy, he says, to do so, I may need your help, to Wells. He says that to Wells.
Yes.
He says that. And so it implies there's going to be some big, like, oh, they were meant to meet. But the only reason they met is so he could let them go?
Right,
Like,
yeah. All he does is let him go.
Yeah,
'Cause
so
the next time
as
you see
far
him,
as we
he's
know
like,
this
he's
much.
done.
As far as we know.
as far as we know,
Yeah,
as far
okay.
as we know, though, yeah, it's like, but if that's all we get from it, it's pretty weak because it's like we met the character just so we could let him go.
I agree.
Like that's weak, but it seems like what's going to happen is they're going to go up against the Borg Special Forces guy. He Wells is going to bring a bunch of like FBI people, and he's going to protect the La Serena against the Borg Special Forces that are going to
Really?
come attacking. That's
Or he'll do it himself. Or
you
maybe
think the FBI is going to stand up to some like mercenary dudes?
I don't know, but like this guy's got to have more to do in the show because if he doesn't, it will be pretty disappointing if this guy doesn't.
And you'd like to set
Maybe
up
the CIA.
you'd like to set up a scene where they have Talon have to help him somehow. Save him, do medical care. Maybe
she wasn't in this episode at all.
She wasn't, but
Say who? Wells?
yes, because he remembers the people with the pointy ears who were Vulcans, but she's a Romulan with pointy ears.
Was that the Carbon Creek reference or whatever?
No,
not really.
because it's a different time period. Because Carbon Creek was, I believe, 1954.
50s.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was really long.
That guy
ago.
was probably a kid like in the 70s.
I think
and 80s.
his T-shirt looked late 70s to me.
Yeah,
and it's
right.
actually better that it wouldn't, in the sense that it would be like one of those super coincidences.
But
like it's like, oh, this guy happened to see the Carbon Creek and happened to meet Picard later. But it implies that Vulcans have landed here and there for.
So
all
we
over the
already
place.
have enough information to know a few things. Most of this is consistent. There are a couple inconsistencies, and there's sufficient data in the lore for those who take these things seriously.
before the lore.
Data
we
and
mean
lore.
no.
You want the data before the lore.
Yeah,
You get it?
yeah, I get it. I watched Star Trek.
It's
I was
got
really
Star
clever.
Trek, Dan.
Yeah,
Jeez.
I think you've made that same joke.
I've not
on
made that
multiple
same joke.
occasions in the
No,
past.
I've never combined all three in one
Several.
punchline.
Several times.
I think you have.
It's not even a punchline. It was just a line. Okay,
a humorous anecdote.
It's arguable.
Okay,
Whether it's
so
humorous.
Carbon Creek, 1954. At the conclusion,
My leg is more humorous.
for those who don't know in the audience, Carbon Creek was an episode of Enterprise in which T'Pol is recounting a tale about her great-grandmother or great-great-grandmother who traveled to Earth with a Vulcan science expedition prior to first contact as part of their observations of Earth.
They've monitored Earth for like 100 years before.
They get trapped for like a little bit, and at the end, Mestral, one of the people on that particular Vulcan science team, he has decided to stay behind. What happens is they get trapped. Their ship gets fucked up. They get rescued in the end. Except Mestral decides to stay behind to quote unquote learn more about Earth / date a pretty lady that he met. And T'Pol's ancestor is like, well, just FYI, there's going to be another expedition coming in 20 years, and it was only planned for orbital observation, but we could sort it out with them to come get you at that time. So 20 years after that, you could say 1974. So maybe this is that group of Vulcans from
that would be even more of a
coming back 20 years later.
It would be such a coincidence, though. I'd be so like. I mean,
well, it's not a coincidence if they're scheduled to come in 20 years and then they arrive.
How many Vulcans are there?
But I mean, no. But I'm saying that this Wells guy's meeting up with these. He happens to see these Borg.
He's looking for his
Vulcans.
dog.
He happens to see his Vulcans. No, I know, but that alone isn't.
Vulcans aren't always so careful.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that he happens to see the Vulcans back then, and he happens to see Picard later on. Like, why he? What are the odds of him seeing both events?
I get the point you're making. I disagree with it on the premise that his experience bumping into the Vulcans by accident set him on a lifelong course seeking out and putting himself in a position where he gets forwarded these crazy surveillance things a la Fox Mulder.
Yes, right. So he did guide it a little bit, and yes, I agree with you, but it still seems like kind of a stretch, but like, maybe not.
Like Taffy.
It's not a big deal. Yeah, Taffy. It's not a big deal.
Taffy.
It's not a big deal.
You can keep stretching it and it doesn't break.
I would have more of a problem if this Wells guy never came back than I do with the other coincidence, which I agree with you is not a total coincidence, and it's not a big deal, and I don't really give a shit.
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
But if Wells doesn't come back, I'll be a little bit like, really? Was it just a reason to give exposition or reveal some things about character realizations?
Well, at the basic level, I agree with you that I do hope that he continues to play a part in some fashion before the end of the season.
Just to make that part of the episode make more sense and necessary.
But at a baseline, his character is a useful character, and it serves to balance that whole thing where on the one hand, I think we discussed last week, we thought, it's great that the show is actually showing that if you time travel back in time, and it's like the 2020s, well, people have cell phones and cell phone cameras and security cameras everywhere and stuff like that. It's going to be harder to get away with your alien shit. You're not going to be able to pull the Kirk and Spock shit or the Voyager hanging out, in 1996 shit with Sarah Silverman. It's getting increasingly harder to go unobserved as time goes on. It was always an issue to potentially be observed, but now it's harder and harder and harder. And so it was great that they have this example of that in the show, in the plot line.
True.
At the same time, it is nice that they sort of buffer that a bit by creating this character who his whole goal is to find aliens. So he's looking for weird things and trying to put the clues together. So he's primed to do that once they give him those clues to look at. He's like a Fox Mulder who's been staring at the crazy, strings on the board, connecting all sorts of stuff probably for years, coming to nothing. And finally he gets some actual stuff. So that's a cool function of the character. It would, in my opinion, be a shame if that's the last we see of the character.
The line goes, what was it? Something, there was like, Picard is talking to this guy that Wells had just been fired, basically. And he was all like, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. And they go, perhaps you had to be that boy. Because he's referring back to, when Wells was a kid and found those people. By the way, he did an awesome, like slide, that slide down the hill with he shot his feet forward like it was a perfect baseball kind of video game.
Oh, the child actor.
The child's actor did a perfect slide. I thought it was a really nice slide.
They knew how to slide better back in the 70s.
Yeah, they had more reason.
They don't teach kids that these days. When we were growing up, we didn't have the benefit of that. They were teaching us how to run hedge funds and things like that because we grew up in the 80s.
I learned somersaults
and hedge fund management and scamming people out of their retirement. That's what we learned growing up.
So he says some moments are meant to happen, even at great cost. And then they go, perhaps you had to be that boy. And then Wells goes, so I could be this man here letting you go. So that's pointing out, that's one of those instances, along with like what you were saying, it goes along the lines of what you were saying previously about, warping, how it's pointing out the
Pointed it out.
This show tends to point out like the things and the tropes sometimes.
Yeah.
Now in this case,
it twists them a little bit by employing them. Instead of granted, you have to suspend disbelief sometimes in significant ways.
Yeah.
In this season, but in other ways, instead of having to suspend the disbelief, they hit it head on.
Right.
People are getting arrested, people are getting caught on video camera doing shady alien shit.
And so either them saying that was just pointing it out doesn't make it any less pointless, just saying it's like, yeah, we're doing this thing. It doesn't make it any less pointless if this guy never comes back, but it could have just been like not so.
You're making me think he's coming back.
Well, it's made it also seem not so subtle foreshadowing. It was like, so I was just here to let you go. So maybe they're specifically trying not to be sneaky about it. And they're just kind of saying like, yeah, he's going to do something.
Yeah.
But then again, should we say any spoilers for Discovery? We're going to be a spoiler for Discovery coming up?
We've already spoiled it.
Yeah. So
not everyone listens to
spoiler
every
coming
episode.
up.
If they're not watching Discovery, they're not listening to our podcast. But if they're not listening to our podcast, they probably don't care about a spoiler.
What's the name of Tarka's friend that he met at?
I forget.
I forget. So
I want to say Torga.
I forget.
Torg.
I remember. I forget.
Arliss.
Yes, it was Arliss. I remember now. You're absolutely right, Jesse. It was Arliss.
Amos.
It was Tarka and Arliss.
So I forget was trying to like leave. They were trying to go. Tarka ran away. He came back. His friend was gone.
With an A.
And his friend was gone, and he was trying to find the thing to go and find his friend again.
Okay.
And we thought that maybe we'd see his friend again, but we never saw his friend
Yes,
again.
you're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
so-
We did. Okay, I get where you're going. I was confused at first, but now I understand. You're saying that this is something that the producers have done in the previous season, the most recent season of Discovery, where they introduced sort of a character who you think may amount to more in the resolution of the plot, but ends up not being directly involved.
I don't know if it's the same, like what different kind of staff they have on Picard versus.
It's totally different showrunners. Totally different
because it's got a different
teams.
vibe. It does have a different vibe.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm sure Strange New Worlds, of course, Lower Decks has its own vibe. Prodigy, they've got their own vibe going for real.
For real.
Everybody's vibing, man.
There was one inconsistency that is going to bother some folks. Two inconsistencies that will bother some folks, I think. Didn't bother me too much because I know they're just trying to tell this particular story, and I thought it was done effectively and well acted, and it worked for the set up this character. However, the two problems here are that, let's say 1974, 1975, whatever, somewhere in that time.
Let's say it.
There are Vulcans coming to Earth, and they encounter young Mr. Wells. And then they proceed to try to do a mind meld with him, presumably to suppress his memories of having encountered monstrous aliens in the
Clearly,
woods.
it didn't work, as
He's
Picard
too
said.
stupid.
Okay.
Because he was too stupid to mind meld.
The problem is that at this stage in Vulcan culture, as we know from Star Trek Enterprise,
Here we come.
they weren't doing mind melds.
weren't
In
doing
fact,
it.
mind melds were considered a sort of deviant, disgusting activity.
Right.
And overly personal. It was
perverted.
And it was on Enterprise where
Perverted.
Vulcan started to realize
Perverted.
that it was not something to be suppressed. And
But at the same time, it is something to be taken seriously, as the episode where T'Pol essentially got invaded.
mind raped. I
Yeah.
think it's okay to say she was
Right.
mind raped, and it was horrifying.
So it's not to be taken lightly.
Yes. But they were doing a lot of sort of somewhat clumsy metaphors towards sexual identity and other forms of identity in that episode. But the point is in terms of Star Trek lore, Star Trek lore, Vulcans should not commonly be doing mind melds. Now,
Especially not to a young boy.
now, your average enthusiastic Facebook commenter, no doubt, will respond, but some of them were doing it. So maybe this guy was one of the ones who was doing it. That works for me. I'm cool with that.
Maybe he wasn't so good.
That
at it.
headcanon works for me. Even though it's not common, okay, fine. He's one of those people who does that.
That's it's a little bit of a stretch. It's not as much of a stretch as people take on other people. Sort of do a mind cannon on all sorts of crazy shit, and this one's not too much of a stretch, but it still is kind of has the feeling like it wasn't intended to be that way.
And I think it's because they fell in love with with the
They fell
and
in
understandably fell in love with the image of Captain Picard mimicking a Vulcan mind meld on Wells, which is something he would have learned from his mind meld with Sarek.
He got mind melded
in TNG.
before.
So he's got all of Sarek's junk rolling around in his brain box. And so I understand. They wanted that image of Picard doing that.
Does he know about Michael Burnham?
And they worked well, yeah, he probably does. And he worked backwards from that. And so that's why that's one minor potential inconsistency, but with an easy headcanon fix if you so choose to employ it, and I so choose to employ it. The other inconsistency
you're right.
is perhaps less glaring, but more difficult to erase.
Oh, this
And
is
that-
intriguing introduction. It's more, but less.
Hey, that's what the people come here for.
It's one way, but really it's the other.
It's both things, but twice. Okay.
Whoa, that fucked me up.
Fucked me up a little bit too. Let me gather myself. Okay. So the other inconsistency happens almost simultaneously to the first, which is he's giving this mind meld, and the mind meld appears to be interrupted by the Vulcans beaming away.
Right, yeah.
And here's the problem with that.
Here's the problem.
Vulcans at this time, if I recall
Weren't
correctly,
beaming.
and I may recall incorrectly, but I do not believe I do. But if I recall correctly, humans were the ones that invented transporters much
shit.
later. Because on Enterprise, they meet the guy who's called like the father of the transporter, or the
shit.
Oh, right.
and it used to
Was
be
it somebody on Alpha Centauri?
no, that's you're thinking of Zephyr Cochrane, who invented warp drive.
He was an alcoholic.
And First Contact. No, but I can't remember the fella's name, but there was a person who on Enterprise who was the person who either invented or made practical energy transport. And up until the Enterprise time, people didn't go through it. It was not something people used. They mostly used it just for cargo.
Yeah.
And on Enterprise, they made it was a playful plot point oftentimes of people being scared to use the transport.
There's no good headcanon for that. Headcanon is the word of the day, or the two words
exactly
that go together.
No, but there is a headcanon for it, but I think it's a stretch. You talking about
your
stretching,
butt cannon,
stretching
right?
the
I got my butt cannon. I'm gonna hit you with my butt cannon.
I've been meaning to get you a
Not
bottle.
again,
I've been
no.
meaning to buy you a bottle of Beano to help out with that.
It's Beano because it's like say no to beans, you know?
Beano.
Bean, no bean, no farty fart.
The headcanon potentially, because you could almost always come up with something that makes sense. And you could say, all right, maybe these Vulcans are time traveling Vulcans, and they traveled back in time, and Vulcans have been back in time on Earth in the City on the Edge of Forever. Tuvok was on Earth in 1996 with Sarah Silverman.
But you just know
Spock was on Earth again.
But
Spock was on past Earth like 3 times.
But and you know though,
He was on like past Vulcan.
The thing is if that was the case, if that's what they meant to do, they would have made a point of it. They would have somehow indicated in the episode. It would have tied into the episode somehow.
Woulda or shoulda.
Wait, what I'm saying.
What about coulda?
It woulda, because I'm saying they're not doing that. It was an oversight. I'm saying this is my argument.
I
saying that
expect
it's
it was an
oversight because if it wasn't an oversight, if it meant to be some kind of person from the future Vulcan, they would have made it tie into the episode somehow.
I expect
they wouldn't leave that question in our head.
It was either an oversight, which would be unusual because contrary to the lunatic haters out there, the showrunners clearly have a very in-depth knowledge of Star Trek. But it still could be an oversight. It's not like they're perfect. Alternatively, it could be that they again really wanted that particular image of him beaming away, the Vulcan beaming away, so as to compare it to the image of Picard beaming in and to mirror that situation and strengthen that connection and what's motivating this Wells guy.
Right, yeah, that seems like what it was.
If they're so in love, they might just say, fuck it, we don't care if it sort of violates the canon. We'll just go forward with it. Which is, by the way, nothing new. They do that all the time in Star Trek, and I'm often the one defending that because if it tells a better story. Now, you then have to argue whether or not it tells a better story, a clear violation of canon. I sound like such a fucking asshole. It's a clear violation of canon. Honestly, I don't care.
Can you use the word obfuscate?
Obfuscate?
Yeah, use that when related to this. No, you don't have to. I was just making a...
What? I
was just saying if you
obfuscating canon. That doesn't make any sense.
I didn't say that. I said I was just saying use the word obfuscate because you were saying I sound like an asshole because I'm using words funny and like I was saying
like do people who are assholes use the word obfuscate a lot?
No, it's a common word. I've used it on time to time. I'm just saying it's
all right. Well, you use it.
One by itself isn't bad, but if it's a pattern of behavior of using big words, then eventually you're just like okay, you're using big words. Look, it's not. It doesn't matter. It's not. It doesn't matter.
All right. Anyway,
I was playing off of what you were playing, and then you said "fuck you."
No, I did not say "fuck you."
It's cool. It's cool. It's my fault.
I said
obfuscate.
Obfuscate.
It's my fault.
Obfuscate.
It's my fault.
Obfuscate.
It's my fault.
Obfuscate.
When you say lunatic haters, do you mean that all haters are lunatics, or do you just mean haters of the lunatic variety?
No, just the ones that are lunatics, and using the colloquial term lunatic, not the archaic version of that would describe mental illness.
When Guinan called Wells buckets of crazy, and that's not polite. You shouldn't throw those words around like that.
I think you should not be ableist on the one hand. On the other hand, I think there's going to be a constant negotiation between certain words and how they were understood colloquially.
It doesn't. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it, but it was just like the thing is people don't it's trying to consider a mental illness an actual.
Yeah,
it's in
the context of course
it's reductive to mental illness.
It is reductive to mental illness if the idea is to actually accuse somebody of being crazy. And I think in this thing it's a bit tricky because she might actually be trying to say, yeah, you're crazy for thinking that. In other words, you have mental illness. Or is she being colloquial and combative?
And right, if you're being colloquial, the argument can be that it doesn't make a difference. You shouldn't take words that lightly.
And I think that's the.
I'm not one who's really cares that much.
No. I think it's a.
But I want to be aware. I want to be aware of it.
I think it's a good point to bring up. And these things. It's going to be interesting to see how they're negotiated. Because, for example, if somebody is like they've got crazy deals down at the Aldi, or the
that's
Lidl,
a little different.
Yes, but some people may not be with that.
Yeah, I would think
but colloquially will mean the deals are crazy. They're insane deals. They're implying that the shopkeepers have developed some sort of problem that they're making irrational decisions. But we know that they are rational decisions because the sales bring in customers who will then buy more than they would have bought otherwise if they had not been attracted by the sale.
Yeah, but
it's a rational decision.
You have sales.
But
that's the thing you do.
I would think crazy since it's applied to an object and not a subject. The object being a sale, right? Yeah. I don't know in the grammatical sense.
No, I think you're correct.
Okay, so and calling that crazy, that makes more sense to me. That's less problematic. Word of the century. Right. What's more problematic is when you're like that person's crazy when they walk around being like, hey, I'm a weird guy.
Crazy.
Yeah. You mean when people point at you walking down the street?
Yeah.
Because you're walking down the street saying, I'm a weird guy.
I'm a weird guy.
Weird guy.
I'm a weird guy.
Let's take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll talk about more
Star Trek
Picard.
Or Star Trek.
All right. Be right back. Are we back?
I'm back, baby.
We're back like the front, and the front like the back.
Official.
This motherfucker over here is going to attack.
Okay. Next topic on the docket. I got no notes. You toss something out there, Dan.
So we got BQ Roddy going to the dive bar,
nibbling up on some batteries.
Yeah, so that was some new lore we learned about. I don't think there's ever been anything about eating batteries to make you more able to. So eating batteries allows you to
specifically the lithium.
The lithium allows you to assimilate. Now, for some reason,
presumably you need the lithium as some sort of component to replicate nanites because nanites are self-replicable, but they need something. They need a medium to replicate. They need mass.
Right, and so the nanites is why at the end BQ Roddy when she assimilated and made the Borg special forces people, she didn't use the super needles, the Borg needles. She used some kind of nano zapper.
She probably didn't have it yet.
Yeah, she didn't. She used the nano zapper, but it would seem like the nano zapper that she used seems like it would be preferable than this invasive needle pushing procedure that they would have done originally.
Here again,
why don't they use that technology that she used at the end of this episode more often? That seems superior.
Here again,
maybe they don't
BQ.
Maybe they don't control them as well or something.
I think we then enter into the perennial and circular debate between consistency versus upgrades, right? The classic
Upgrade.
example being the upgrade from the TOS Klingons to the movie and TNG era Klingons. And then the later downgrade to the Discovery Klingons.
Whenever I hear upgrade, the movie Idiocracy has ruined that for me because that was the name of her boyfriend.
Was named Upgrade?
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
So, what was that? What were we talking about?
You're talking about consistency versus upgrade.
Klingon.
Upgrades. Because as the years drift by and as technology advances, improves, changes, whatever adjective you'd prefer to apply to it, change is probably the most neutral way to describe it. But things change, styles change, things change, Mox.
Yes, I knew it.
I don't want your life. Varsity Blues, surprisingly good movie for all of you out there.
It had that Vanderbeek fella.
in the fandom who think you might not like Varsity Blues. Give it a try sometime. It's a surprisingly good movie.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's got some classic football scenes, and it's got some story and some fun. And it's got James Vanderbeek.
It's got James Vanderbeek.
It's always a joy.
Yeah. What we were about? Oh yeah. Things change. Technology
because
changes.
they're using the nanotech to assimilate
Cameras
those
change.
Borg.
So
Cameras
they
change.
have frequently
They lose their mirror.
upgraded technologies and alien species and how warp is represented, etc. So on the one hand, we have that. We're seeing things differently. Strange New Worlds, Discovery take place almost the same time as TOS, but obviously it looks very different. We accept it because it's 1960s versus 2010s, right?
They don't have the women that bring them the coffee.
Yes, that is another good point. That's another. They don't have.
They got rid of that.
They don't have that weird sexist. No women on the bridge. No women captains rule. Which Pike actually talks about in the Cage, talking about, I'll never let women be captains. So things do change, and they've even done that with the Borg. So you have the Borg as they originally appeared in the early TNG, and over time they added functionality, shifted up how they appeared, and then starting with, especially First Contact, they added the veiny bits, because the Borg didn't used to have the veiny bits. They used to just have pale white makeup on, and then eventually First Contact improved it to like the pulsating black veins and things like that.
Right.
Voyager did stuff.
And I guess in this situation, they obviously didn't have the option to use Borg needles because it was in a human body. So they had to come up with a different. They had to come up with a different way the software worked.
And
hardware.
And I think the headcanon is easy to come up with there too, which is that the Borg Queen, when she inserted herself into Jurati in the first place, was already in super weakened mini nanite form, not full on download.
But then
and now she's growing within Jurati,
right,
and getting these other people. But because of Seven's comment about impure, or bad lithium gives you bad assimilation or something, I have no doubt that we're going to see some of these people freak out in some weird ways, because they are not like full on automaton ant-like Borg drones. I don't think that's what's going to happen.
Problems.
Right.
There's going to be some problems.
And so that would make more sense, right? That this form of assimilation maybe is not as reliable. So that would actually, that would be a good.
Maybe she's.
I think that'd be a good direction to go.
Maybe if she kept being able to grow and expand, eventually she'd be able to have her little tubules come out.
But it's all sort of
which would maybe
hoc.
be quicker and more wicked.
So so we got that awesome scene where BQ Roddy starts hopping along the hoods of the cars.
Yeah. We saw that in the preview, and everyone was wondering, I was like, why is Jurati in a fancy red dress running across car hoods?
Well, that's the question, isn't it?
And now we have our answer.
Yeah. So contrary to what
I wouldn't have guessed that in a million years.
and contrary to what one might have hoped, she is not in control. Jurati is not in control of the situation by any means. So there's
she
no
has some
chance.
small amount of influence here and there with great energy. It seems.
Right. She's succumbed to aliens once again this season.
Again.
And I'm wondering, they must have done this sort of okay, first of all, last episode, the first season, do you think they meant, when they made her a murderer last season, do you think they meant to...
Making of a murderer.
Do you think they meant to have her character actually... Do you think...
Mulder? Who said anything about Mulder? That's a line from Once Upon a Crime.
I don't
an
care.
Obscure film directed by...
What does that have to do with fucking anything?
The fellow... What? He's got John Candy in it.
It has nothing to do
Sybil
with...
Shepherd in it.
It's not good. That's not good.
It was directed by Eugene Levy.
Okay, it doesn't have anything there's not even a weird segue that you can jump from there. There's not a connection point. You just said random. a tennis ball is in a Bart fart, you know?
Bart fart.
Yeah, I just said something too.
It's a good movie. It takes place in Monaco. Once Upon a Crime.
When in the first season,
Sadly underrated.
in the first season of Picard, do you think that when Jurati killed that dude, do you think they were
she killed her
Maddox? Do you
boyfriend
think their
/ mentor.
original purpose was to make it that she was controlled by aliens? Do you think? Because in the beginning of this season, she was all like, "Yeah, it was deemed that I was not responsible for murdering this guy because I was influenced by aliens." Do you think they were planning on going in that direction, or do you think they? I don't know. Like,
I think it's very hard to say. The first season was definitely there were some jumbly bits.
Yeah.
in the
So
first
I guess
season.
was it a little? Yeah, right. Did they falter at all, or do you think they just kind of winged it?
I'd being generous, I'd say they faltered.
Yeah.
I think that's the more generous thing. I'm somebody who quite enjoyed the first season of Picard.
Yeah, I did too.
But it has problems. The ending is a little unsatisfying in some ways. And it does seem like they were kind of meandering for a little bit there.
So this season, she's getting taken over by the alien again, and I got to think that they didn't originally have that plan from the start of the first season, but I think it's a good direction to go in, considering she's already had that problem. Might as well go full force with it. It's like, yeah, this is some shit she has to deal with.
That could just be the gag in the third season.
gag.
She'll be taken over by another alien.
Yeah.
Maybe at the end of this, she doesn't become the new Borg queen. She Q goes into her, and then she gets to be Q next season.
Yeah. Much better.
And it's Alison Pill, except it talks with John Delancey's voice.
Whoa. Yeah. Speaking of talking voices, did you notice that when Alison Pill was talking, like the Borg at the end, Borg queen person,
The BQ.
the BQ, when she's talking about like BQ, she sounded like 7 of 9 did in Voyager. If you look at the last scene where she's talking to Soong, her cadence and the way she talks, to me, sounded like the way 7 of 9 talked in Voyager.
I didn't catch that, but
That's just my interpretation.
I will go back and look at it. Well, you might have been primed for that because Jerry Ryan this season has been doing this periodically, but I think is most overt in this episode where she sort of reverts momentarily into a more 7 of 9
what I was saying,
stash.
Alison Pill.
No, I know, but I'm saying maybe the fact that earlier in the
What are you laughing about over there?
episode, Seven's character, it's when she's talking with Rafi, and is sort of thrown off a little bit, and she momentarily, in almost a defensive mechanism, when she, because she's upset, she almost shuts down a little bit and displays a little bit more fifth or sixth season 7 vibes very briefly, and then shakes it off. And it's possible that seeing that then primed you to be able to catch what the rest of us did not, which was Jurati also mimicking that sort of style.
And speaking of the conversation, when 7 was describing BQ's behavior, she goes, she was frustrated, angry, took it out on what couldn't satisfy her. And, and Rafi answers like, wow, I mean, that's spot on. She deserved to hear wet fur for that, because like that was kind of fucked up thing for Rafi to say. Just instead of being supportive, she's rubbing her face, and instead of being like, oh, thanks for trying to identify with the person and help us along, she's like, well, I wonder where I've seen that before, huh? And then so I thought
She's got a smart mouth.
Yeah, she does. And I thought 7, it was awesome when 7 pointed out that sort of manipulative aspect, which we saw that scene with Elnor, and Elnor...
the flashback with Elnor where she basically guilt-tripped him into, or her perception is she guilt-tripped him into going to Starfleet instead of going back to help out his old Kawat Malat friends.
Yeah, and Elnor, you always get this impression that Elnor is this kind of, because of his candor, because he's so candid, he gives up this impression that he's like this naive idiot, but he's naive.
Knife.
Oh my God, I pronounced the word wrong, and I admitted it right away.
No.
I admitted it right away.
I didn't say nothing.
Nobody's ever gone like ploopity ploop before.
It's just...
You mean it's not Nave? You mean it's not Nave?
This happens like every other episode.
No, it's just in this case, it's funny because of the specific context. She was saying you were not naive, and so you said you were like...
Right. So anyways, Elnor seems like he's
ironic.
Yeah, it's funny. It's hilarious. So you're right. So Elnor acts like naive. Seems like he is all naive and dumb, but really he's spot on.
Do you think he has a brother named 12 Nor?
No, because he was all pointing out Girardi's shit to her, and he was saying it really quickly. He delivered that line really quickly about her using nihilistic defense mechanisms or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the point I was making is that, he's not so naive as one might think.
Not at all.
I mean, he's dead, but I mean, that happened before.
now he's naive.
But I mean, it was frustrating to watch that scene, right? Because most people know a person like Raffi, who's like a good person and stuff, but also has these extreme moments of selfishness when it comes to like the choices other people make. It's like, no, you can't make those choices because I can't handle it. And it's frustrating because, I mean, I guess we're all like that from time to time, but when you have a friend who's like that, or a couple friends, a lot of people are like that,
Well, it
doesn't mean they're bad, but it doesn't mean they're bad people because Raffi is like really good.
This is why I like the character, right? And I have again, we don't really spend much time talking about all the trolls on the internet, but you do see these things come up where people have some criticisms and criticisms are fine, but it is funny when the criticism is like, oh, I don't like what that character did, and it's like, yeah, no, I don't think you're supposed to. I think you're supposed to. This is a realistic character.
Right. Characters aren't always supposed to be likable. That's when they argue the character wasn't likable.
And certainly not perfect. Now, it is a shift for people who, especially early TNG, for the most part, most of the characters were always portrayed in the best light, and any foibles they had were either like alien abduction and brain takeover or whatever. But even then, occasionally, like Picard didn't like kids, and Picard had a few, like they all had their little things. And I like seeing a character like Raffi because so many of the other characters we deal with, like Picard and Data and Alison Pill and all, they're
Picard, Data, and the character Alison Pill.
Girardi. They're all. It's like the difference between superheroes and non-superheroes. And Raffi, she has shit she's dealing with, but it's not having been a Borg. It's not currently being a Borg. It's not having been a Borg and a captain of a starship and going through all sorts of stuff and then getting a synthetic body. And my point being is many of these other people we're dealing with all have some extra sci-fi action going on. Raffi and Rios are more down to earth, and their foibles are a little bit more down to earth. People can complain about why did Rios bring the girl he likes and her son on the ship? That's stupid. It's like, yeah, that's a foible. And it's kind of a relatable foible.
I think I actually said that last week. Didn't I say that last week? That why would he bring her on the ship?
Yeah, no, the critique is right.
Sounds like something you would say.
Yeah, because I thought that was kind of an extreme thing for the character to do.
But but that's the kind of thing a character like that would do, where other characters may not. But with Raffi, it is frustrating to see so clearly displayed that manipulate, like that scene with her. And I agree with her and Elnor was difficult to watch because many people have experienced that on one side of the equation or the other, and you're going to feel uncomfortable seeing it sort of objectively where you're like, oh, that's fucked up. She's totally guilt tripping this dude. And now she feels bad because he ended up dead as a result, like tangentially as a result of it.
It's kind of like the Defenders versus the Avengers, right? I mean, you got the Avengers who are like these celestial kind of creatures and fucking up the universe and stuff. And then you got the Defenders like Daredevil and Luke Cage.
They're just kicking the shit out of people on the street corner.
Yeah, exactly. You got those but they're both meant to be there. You need them both, right? Just because you have one that are fighting universe monsters and others that are fighting crime on the streets.
And also in the context of this episode, Raffi presumably is learning and growing in this process, and through her relationship with Seven and her conversations with Seven being in a position to confront her about this behavior, similar to Picard did a little of that last season, which helped Raffi get out of her real bottom of the barrel doldrums that she was in. So she's improved beyond the last season in terms of getting her shit together, but she's still not quite there. And there's this fear in her that's palpable, and she shows her emotions very clearly. And even though she's trying to control them at the same time, right? So I just find it all very fascinating, and I think it works pretty well. Granted, again, it'll all because of the serialized format of the show, it's often difficult to have a real opinion on these things until the plot of the season has wrapped up and we sort of see where things end up.
Yeah, you can feel the tension, of course, with Seven and Raffi. Before, it was in the past few episodes there was tension, but it was more kind of like on a bickering kind of fun little way. But now it's getting a little bit more aggressive. Because they were looking for. I think it was Raffi was asking Seven where to find BQ, and then Seven goes, "I don't know, Raffi. I'm not Borg." That's loaded. And then Raffi responds with, "You are Seven, right?"
Yeah.
Which is all snarky, and it's starting to get a little mean, a little bit meaner.
And I don't think Raffi meant it as mean, but I think Raffi didn't have enough self-reflection to understand first that Seven in general does not want to be reminded of her time as the Borg. And secondly, in this context where I think Raffi is not taking it into account, is Seven is not only traveled back in time, but she's removed, they removed the Borg implant. So she's feeling not being a Borg for the first time, and now Raffi's asking her to be reminded of it. I mean, for practical reasons, but still.
I mean, when I say it's snarky, I mean just that phrasing. When you say you are Seven, right? It's like, that's a rhetorical question. It's obnoxious to ask someone that question. Like,
I agree.
It's like, I'm Seven. Why are you asking? What do you mean you are Seven?
Yeah.
It's like, yes, I'm Seven. Yeah. Wouldn't it be more appropriate to say, like, can you use like what you have in common with the Borg? Can you use your past experiences to relate to it? But say you're Seven. It's like when someone says something and they go like, that blah 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 blah, right? Yeah. When they respond, that blah 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 blah, right? You know that blah, 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 right?
I'm not disagreeing with your point.
Fucking, it's like, what do you know, right? You know this is true, right? You have to know, because if you answer no to that, if you answer the no, you're a fucking idiot.
Come on.
You're a fucking idiot. Are you an idiot? Are you an idiot? Are you stupid?
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with the point. My point is a side point, which is that both things can be true. It can be true that it is an obnoxious way to respond to Seven, and that Raffi did not, in her mind. Intend it to be malicious. And it was her lack of self-reflection and self-analysis and empathy towards Seven in the situation to not even, and I think it's important to point that out, because that's often the issue, is where the miscommunication is both that there is a wronged party, but the person doing the wronging did not maybe at least initially understand how their thing was going to be interpreted, because they're distracted by their own shit.
I've put my foot in my mouth before, not realizing
physically or metaphorically.
I mean, I've put all sorts of things in my mouth physically.
That's the rumor.
And I just
that podcast will be on the Patreon.
Oh man!
Once we get off our asses and put together a Patreon.
And if any one of you,
it's got Dan's mouth.
Okay,
any one of you, I dare you.
Guess what's been in Dan's mouth? It's so fun. So if anyone hearing this, if anyone listens at all, if we have any listeners at all hearing this that do that, say
large number of listeners
that say like
across the globe,
that say like, the blah blah blah, right? And I was like talking harshly about it. Doesn't mean you're a bad person, all right? We all say things we regret. All right, so but you should regret it if you say it.
but you should fucking regret it.
But you're not a bad person.
Absolutely wrong.
I say dumb things all the time, so it's just I'm just pointing it out.
It doesn't make you dumb. You just say dumb things.
I still love you. I love ya. That's so silly. I love ya. I love ya.
Keep listening, guys, because we love you.
Or should I say I love you?
I love you with all the fixins.
I love you with all the fixins. All right.
Fair enough. So more Star Trek. I think we've probably exhausted the Jurati, Seven, and Raffi.
Yeah, I think so
for the most part.
Yeah.
Although I did, it was fun. It was very brief detective scenes. It's almost an irony of these serialized formats of the shows, which I generally do like. Except instead of getting mysteries spread out over longer, you get more mysteries compressed into little bits. He's like, "Where's Jurati?
Oh, right.
She's down that street with a bearded man. Oh, here's the dead bearded man. Oh, right around the corner is Jurati chomping on some batteries, and brief altercation, and she runs off, and they're like, we're gonna have to figure out something else." To me, it did all work very well, but I will have to admit that I've been watching a lot of Columbo lately.
That's cool.
Old, first season Columbo. So I'm really enjoying that slow paced, figure out the thing. It can be a little jarring to watch some modern TV after you watch some crazy. Those early Columbos, especially, they do some crazy film stuff. Like the way they direct it is all gritty and wild.
Yeah, it's old TV.
What's next? What's next on the docket, Dan? Note man.
We could talk about
with your numbers.
Q and Dr. Soong.
Q
and Dr. Soong.
Q.
By the way, how do you think Q convinced those when Q was going into when Guinan summoned him? That was a new bit of lore too. This whole summoning thing, they explored that a little more. It wasn't just some before. It was like kind of a throwaway to me. It's like, oh, they summoned him, whatever. But then Q's like, that's a sacred ritual, and so I guess that's a big thing now. But how do you think Q snuck his way into the room with Guinan? Do you think he just uses his Q mind trickery to like trick people?
Probably.
Yeah, it's interesting how they're portraying it because they're leaving it completely up in the air. They're implying that he still has some powers,
right?
But he doesn't have he can't transport himself around. But that maybe, he's got his FBI jack. He's clearly going in and out of wherever he wants to do. He's able to manipulate people pretty easily.
Well,
maybe he's just doing the same thing he's doing with Soong, except like he's got to do that with everybody.
He's able to create this antidote for
that too,
Corey.
Yeah.
And he can say, like, well, this is only the part-time antidote, but then I got the real antidote, and then I made some shit appear in Corey's locker. It said freedom on it. I was able to zap that into existence.
And he could program himself or a simulacrum of himself.
But he couldn't.
Great magic card, by the way.
Yeah, simulacrum's all right. But he couldn't. He couldn't.
It's all right. I'm not going to say it's great. I retract it. It's not great.
You just want to say something.
I just want to say it's cool. I just want to say the word simulacrum.
But he's.
I don't want to obfuscate what you're trying to say, Dan.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I appreciate that. You did that. You said the word that I wanted you to. Thank you.
You said the magic word.
So he's able to summon antidotes and little plaques that say freedom, but he can't incinerate people. He can summon plaques that say freedom, but he can't summon fire to incinerate someone.
And he can't transport himself around.
Well.
And he can't transport himself around.
All right. Okay. I want to talk. We'll talk more about Q in a second, but let's take a quick break. Let's take a quick break.
Okay.
And then we can regroup.
Okay.
Regroup. We can eat some raw.
We're gonna talk about soon.
We can eat some raw potatoes. And we come back. We talk about
raw potatoes.
It's Adam Soong? Is it Adam Soong?
You two are steamy potatoes.
It's Adam Soong.
Do you ever say you two are steamy potatoes?
Never said that in my life. All right. We'll be right back. All right, we're back.
Jesse, have you ever said you two are steamy potatoes?
Have I ever said you two?
Or something to that effect.
Like the band you two?
Steamy potatoes?
Steamy potatoes.
No, I've never said that.
Isn't you two from Ireland? Are they
That's
from
a
Ireland?
band, yeah.
And now you're calling them steamy potatoes?
I love you
Is this some sort of prejudicial nonsense against the Irish?
I think some of the people are from Ireland, but some of them
not all of them are from Ireland. You too. All right, so what's Soong? Adam Soong, Q.
Soong sees himself as
Soong sees himself.
Soong sees himself as Zeus.
Soong sees himself on the seesaw.
Soong sees himself as Zeus.
Yes, he's naming all his daughters.
And he actually sees so he's like,
does he see the seashells at the seashore?
Sally sells seashells down by the seashore.
So Soong is offended by the concept of reality because to him, reality makes him insecure and it's like really bad for his ego. The fact that there's limitations on things he can do.
Like all the other Soongs, it's a control.
Right.
He has control
see,
issues.
Most people,
they're a bunch of crackpots that are always goofing up.
No, see, there's a lot of people feel control issues, but most people, they feel tough when they get to boss people around. But Soong, he doesn't feel smart unless
create life.
He doesn't. Yeah, he basically has to.
And a lot of his ancestors or descendants apparently are the same.
Yeah.
So unless he can basically summon fireballs and shit, he feels small and insignificant. It's not enough to boss. Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. He wants to be a god, and it's funny because he's being manipulated by Q, who is a godlike creature, but he's not godlike because Q. Not only we've learned that Q is afraid of being alone. And we also learned that Q is trying to find meaning in existence just like everybody else. Yeah. So Q is definitely not a god. We knew he wasn't a god. He's a good, like as you pointed out once, he's a good storytelling device. Yeah. But it's interesting to explore his character more. But so he's this. Q has everything that Soong kind of wants, right? And so like, do you think who would win in a fight between Zeus and Q?
Between Zeus and Q?
Yeah,
that's a good question. They should do a whole comic series about that.
Yeah, Zeus versus Q.
I'd read that.
Zeus is more rapey than Q.
yeah,
I don't know. I
Way
don't know
more
if I don't know if that
rapey.
confers
Way
any
more
advantages
But
for him in
yeah,
a fight.
I mean, well, when Q warped the whole Enterprise over to the Robin Hood merry man, I am not a merry man.
Yes.
That was a little rapey, wasn't it? Like mind rapey,
Sort of.
Oh no, yeah,
but maybe
Q,
not as bad
Q
as
is
Zeus.
Q is a violator for sure.
A violator, yes.
Yes, but
There wasn't there a character in Spawn called Violator?
I'm not familiar
bet.
enough with that
I
franchise.
can't remember.
Yeah. No, well, the Adam Sung thing, it's interesting with control issues because, as you said, Dan, many people have insecurities related to feelings of lack of control. Some might argue that those feelings become particularly problematic in people who have access to power in some form or another. That could be political power or economic power. That's what we're used to in our world. But Sung represents sort of the inventive power. It's somebody who, like his descendants, Noonien Sung and Eric Sung and all those folks, he has the ability to do these things if he puts his mind to it. And that's an important part of the story. He's not just trying to play God, but he's having some measure of success doing it, right? He's not like he's not doing Frankenstein experiments that all immediately go bad. A bunch of them didn't work out, but he does have at least one example that has survived this long.
Corey was
not-
like what 15 or 16 or 16 or 18, probably 18.
No, she's got to be in her 20s, wouldn't she?
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Seems like it.
Because the one before you said made it to 4.
Yeah, and that she's made it the longest.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Didn't
Yeah.
make too much
Although,
sense. 15 is young. I don't know why. I thought it
You
was
brought
15.
up last week that who knows, maybe he's using some sort of speedy grow.
Speedy
Maybe- or
grow.
Maybe that's part of the genetic profile.
Human bee grow.
Possible.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Weed
to say
be
about
gone.
that.
So yeah, well, I mean, it's just it's serious ego issues with the whole Soong crew. You know,
Ego has often caused problems.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, most people have their ego is limited to like let's boss around human
Sure.
populations and things, which is a big fucking deal, not to be underestimated by
That's
any
still
means.
bad.
It's really bad. But if your ego is such that the concept of reality, the fact that you can't fly because there's gravity, that's not. I mean, as like a sort of example, like the fact that there's limiting factors on what you can accomplish that just exist.
Yeah.
To find that offensive is like really that's a
But
crazy ego.
But it can go in multiple directions, and this is nothing new. This is the mad scientist trope. It's the person who has the potential, the capability of doing things that are major, but not necessarily good.
But Soong is a little bit more diabolical than in a way than when Armand Bashir, when Cisco was that
It was Dr. Noah
basically
because of the flood.
yeah
Dr. Noah.
I didn't
Dr. Noah.
I didn't think about that, but
Noah's
yeah.
flood.
Noah's Arcade. Which was basically a James Bond villain, right? And
Yes.
so you think about someone like that. I mean, I guess technically is that a mad scientist? I don't know if he really counts as a mad
Yeah,
scientist.
at least he hired mad scientists
But
to
would
do
you-
his mad plan.
But I mean, I guess there is Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein, like you were
Yes,
saying.
Dr. Frankenstein.
So,
but his is more of an attempt that goes wrong.
What about Dr.
Yeah.
Funkenstein?
But
yeah, Dr. Octagon.
Noonien Sung produces Data Lorne before.
Whoa.
And Data certainly, by most accounts, was considered successful. And potentially
He's fully functional.
the people, Soji,
Yeah, right.
she's still around and
She works out pretty well.
potentially an improvement over Data.
Her gears are still grinding.
Yeah, so we'll
Improvement. Isn't that offensive to say that one is an improvement over the other?
Not if they're a machine.
No.
But their life, that's the whole question. That's the whole TNG thing is like, is Data a life or not?
No, but not in the context of a parent, presumably. Okay, fair enough. Maybe not all parents, but I think a lot of parents would hope that their children turn out better than them as an improvement. They want those.
Yeah, but would you
to have more skills,
but-
more
and
success?
I'm not a parent, so I can't answer this
That's
question.
a parent.
You are funny with words.
because your shirt's all clean.
When you have this, when you have
you have a bunch of shit all over your shirt because you don't have kids.
When you have the second and
you look at this clean shirt.
when you have like your second or
I
third,
only have to do laundry once a week.
when you have a second or third or fourth kid or whatever, each time you have a new kid, are you like, I'm going to do it better this time? This kid's going to be better than the one before. I don't know if that's something that goes through people.
You see, that kind of improvement is the wrong kind of improvement.
as
Right,
opposed
but I
to the
mean, it's-
generational improvement.
Yeah.
Right, and so
The reason you have 4 kids is that so at least one of those motherfuckers turns out better than you did.
Right,
At
well-
least one of them you don't fuck up too bad.
but Soong is making you were comparing Soji to Data and
because she's sort of a
they're
child of
both-
Data in a way.
child of Data. You
Because
would consider
because they were made. Soji was made
One of the other
from the B4 bits and the Data bits, and
Okay.
before she was extrapolated from that, right?
okay, fair enough.
I mean, it's
No,
it's a bit of a philosophical.
No, you make
conversation.
that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
You make it a good point. You make it a good point.
It's a me.
So edit that part out.
I liked when Q was talking to Soji in the. I like that whole 2D to 3D
2D?
thing. They should do that.
You like the tootie?
when the 2D when
Tutti
Corey
frutti.
when Corey put on the hat, the VR hat that made the
I don't think they don't call it a VR hat.
you know
what you
The
have.
beanie?
It was
You
like
have
it was
VR.
like a hat.
yeah.
You have VR.
I have the PSVR.
You'd call it a headset.
Yeah.
It's
Traditionally,
a beanie.
it would be called
it's
a
It's a
headset.
VR beanie.
VR hat.
VR head.
Now
They
I'm
were
going
like
to just think of it as a VR hat.
sunglasses.
So
And I could see
Hey, Billy
stuff.
Bob, toss me the VR hat.
so when
I'm going to do some VR fishing.
when Corey looks at the 2D thing, and they go like
Looks at
turning
the 2D thing.
It goes like turning 2D into 3 dimensions. That part.
You mean when it did that robot voice?
Well, turning 2 point into 3 dimensions.
So
working.
lonely.
So lonely. That would be awesome. We need to have some of that tech for like Google Maps, because then we could have, we could play Doom in real world stuff. We could have. I wouldn't.
We're a couple months away from that
And-
shit. The
and I-
Microsoft AR stuff is getting pretty
It's
close to
getting
that.
tight. I want to have the Beltway races where we race around 495 in a not real scenario, but you take Google Maps to recreate.
We could just do it for real.
We
if you
could
want.
no.
You mean
see,
you're
that's
in
the
your
problem.
car driving, but it appears to you you're driving through like
You're
a
not.
hellscape?
You're not actually in your car. You're at
Okay.
home in a VR set.
All right, this is already less fun.
Well,
than
okay.
than my initial reaction
I
to your
know,
idea.
right, I'm not
I thought we
talking-
were going to go around murdering each other.
murdering ourselves.
But a video
Get
game
in a
murdering.
limo.
No,
Get
no,
a
I'm,
limo.
no. I'm just saying, like, this is all for funsies. This isn't to kill anybody. So
Come on.
you could make it to kill someone if you wanted to. I'm just saying you have a racing game.
Well, as long
Where's
as you
the
could if you
fun?
wanted to.
All I'm saying is you make a racing game that takes Google Maps, does the 2D to 3D technology, so you have a 3D landscape to drive around, and you do it around the Beltway, and you get paint guns and you fuck people. No, don't do that in real life. That seems like a bad idea.
Yes, that would be.
That's what my idea for the Beltway races was. You have cars, and then you have like these paint gun turrets on top, and you shoot each other.
no.
Just to clarify,
They will shut your ass down.
That's
fast.
why I'm saying it's VR. That's the point.
for the significant portion of our audience
Of course,
that,
I understand.
that lives outside of the
Oh, okay.
Washington, D.C. area, the Beltway is the highway that encircles Washington, D.C.
Yeah, but a lot of
going
places,
through Maryland,
a lot of places,
and Virginia.
a lot of places. Have
Some
that.
people
Yeah, but they
are
don't all
still
call it
driving-
the Beltway.
Some people are still driving around that.
I'm just saying we are people who were raised within the Beltway, and so we don't want to lean on
live-
our biases. That
Yeah, they
everyone,
would-
that
I live
everyone
outside
knows.
the Beltway,
Well, you
though.
currently live outside the Beltway.
But I
you used to
am
live
from-
inside. You're from inside the
I am an
Beltway.
inner.
You would get in serious shit if you did that in real life, and fucking
Oh yeah, they would. Yeah, there would be.
there'd be problems.
They would throw the book at you.
They would. So when Corey was walking around that, and then Q appears, he goes like, "So close to the answers you seek. I'm sorry the others didn't make it. Looks like you were the strongest of the bunch."
Yeah.
I like that. It was implying some sort of perverted concept of natural selection. Obviously, it's not natural selection, but that's why I say it takes that idea. It's perverted. It's like basically saying this is natural selection when somebody's in control of it. I know what natural selection is. I know it's a lack of intelligent control.
But there is also
There's no
artificial.
such-
There's
there's-
also artificial selection, which
Right.
is dog breeding, horse breeding,
right,
etc.
exactly. But I didn't take this as I thought this was more of a play on that in
Yeah.
the sense that it was obviously
You accidentally happen to be the one that's surviving.
it's like, and it's sort of implying that we live these lives thinking that we're in control and and the strongest survive and stuff, but there's some shit that is out of your control. And
That scene also reminded me of in the Running Man movie, the game show host guy. Sometimes he'd be talking along similar lines to about some of the stuff going on there.
So I haven't seen that movie. I heard I should.
Yeah.
Anyway, just the point of like, it's not always survival of the fittest though in real life, because yes, there is natural selection.
Yeah.
That's an overarching sort of controlling factor. But
I heard it was a dog world.
But on a regular instance level. Sometimes it's just some random shit that flies by. If you believe in randomness, well, I'm not saying that's a different discussion altogether. But just some shit that you would have never predicted.
It's okay to believe in effective randomness.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's important to make the distinction, though.
I agree.
Anyways, so yeah.
I believe in you.
I like that he sort of was
believe
like,
in you, Dan.
It's like, you're not the strongest. You just didn't happen to be picked because on a whim of my choice or whatever, so. That's how powerful
I believe in
things
you.
are.
It's powerful. Dude.
I like that. I was just saying that I liked that part.
It's okay that you liked it.
I'm not asking for your words.
I don't need you to say it's okay.
We're not asking.
What's the one for your approval? I'm not asking for your approval.
I'm offering it for free. Free of charge.
Free approval.
So,
Free
I
of
would say
charge.
you're not offering it for free. You're what you're doing is you're trying to take my dignity.
You think I'm trying to ride your coattails?
There's no such thing as free approval.
There's no such thing as dignity around these parts.
When you go up to someone and pat them on the back and go, "That's really good. I really approve of you. I'm offering this for free." That's a deception. You are taking my dignity. You're not offering me approval. You're taking my dignity.
Do people often come and
patting me on the head?
Now
head?
you're doing it again. Now you're being like, "Does this happen to you a lot, Dan?"
I just wanted to clarify.
Does this happen to you a lot,
I just wanted
Dan?
to make the distinction
Patrick.
between a rhetorical point and an actual form of abuse.
I'm abusing Dan by asking if he's been abused.
I would be concerned if people were coming.
I
up
would
and
be so concerned.
touching you physically.
I would be horrified if this were to happen to you, Dan.
I would want to report
It's
it.
very good,
report
Dan.
it to some sort of authority.
Oh no, you're so right, Dan. You make an excellent point.
I do think you did make an excellent point, though.
I know I made an excellent point. You don't got to tell me.
I think I don't have any odds and ends because I don't have any notes. But
we're getting to the end here.
Well, I think we're veering into that. We're careening into that with our AR goggle headsets on. Our AR hats.
AR hats.
With our AR hats flying through.
See,
local places that people don't know about.
We'll see. Is there anything to say about Rios and Rios?
I thought the scene was cute.
Yeah, that was actually kind of a nice scene talking about that. Painted a picture of what married life might be like.
It also painted a picture of her being what's her name again? I forget. Teresa. It painted a picture of Teresa being. We know more about her as a character. She's a creative person. She's a thoughtful person. We know a little bit about her background, which she said was very sort of, encumbered and organized. Is stricter than what she's having with her son.
The kid, when he got the cake out of the replicator, he was a kid and he was so excited about getting food out of the replicator. Anything he wanted, 4 pieces of cake. He didn't make any comment about the fact that it maybe didn't taste as good as actual real cake.
Well, I was actually wondering that too, about would it taste as good as the real thing? But you got to think that
because Rios was all talking about like the food. It's like, this is real. I'm eating real food.
But the thing is
greener.
But the thing is,
on the other side of the fence.
I thought about that too, and the way I sort of validated in my head is that cake, with all the sugar and all that artificial shit that is in cake.
Cake is cake.
I think you could replicate cake to about the same quality as we make it most cakes. Not all cakes, but most cakes.
I can see that. Yeah,
I think that's an excellent. I never thought of that before, but the idea that different things
because it's just sugar,
more or less easy to replicate. Accurately.
Like making a good steak might be.
You're not making.
I don't know.
eggplant.
Actually,
the sinews of the steak, like the gach, doesn't work because it can't make live things.
You can't.
You can't floppy ass dead gach.
You can't replicate gach.
There's no fucking point in it.
What about Quat Malat?
You can replicate Quat Malat all day.
The Quat Malat pie. It's kind of like a key lime pie, but it's made with raspberries.
So, I think. First of all, every time they go to the La Serena, they do that super zoomy shot. I kind of think that from a different angle, they go from the super zoom shot.
You're going to see this ship from every angle, although it's embedded amongst some trees.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, we get the idea, but I still enjoy it.
In France,
I think what's going to happen is, and this is maybe this is too bog standard to actually happen. He said bog standard. Bog standard, okay. Patrick's favorite.
I do like that phrase. It's an English phrase that I'm hoping to popularize elsewhere around.
Do you think it's going to pull the Rios is going to end up staying behind in the end instead of going to the future, because what'll happen is they'll be ready to travel back. They'll be like, okay, zap it, we're ready to go back.
Yeah.
And then a Borg warrior will come up and fuck some shit up. And then some shit goes wrong.
No, I think.
And then, wait,
There's a bunch of Borg warriors coming.
Okay.
Wait, and so someone will have to stay behind so everyone else
To
can
flip
get
the switch, to flip the giant switch.
Yeah, to flip the
There'll
exactly.
be a big lever
There'll be a big lever, make your car
with
smell
a red
funny
handle.
lever. Yeah, there'll be a big lever to yeah, exactly. And
No,
so
I think the
and
doctor's going to jump ahead in time.
So you think that's what you think? You think the
That's
doctor's going to?
classic,
But the
yeah.
problem is they have a kid. That's the only reason I think they wouldn't make him go into the future, because that might be traumatizing to the kid.
What?
Well,
No, I mean,
let's discuss the evidence.
because when
Let's weigh the evidence.
Real quick, when you go forward in time or backward in time, when you stay in some place where you were living before, it's generally implied you're leaving behind a past that you don't need anymore. And so why would Teresa be leaving behind her good work that she's doing back home? She's doing
Good point.
She's doing good moral work,
okay.
good work, and she's got this kid. It's not like she's
Right.
she's
He's a promising young
yeah,
fella.
she's not like there's nothing for me back home.
Right,
And that's Rios
right.
falls more
He's
into that
an apt
category.
pupil.
He acts more falls more in that
the
category.
woman in Star Trek 4 who decides to go
Right.
into the future.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Because
Precisely.
all she had was that asshole who worked at like the aquarium or something.
Yeah, that guy.
Here, I think the points you make are very
And she
good.
lived
So,
in the
yeah,
80s.
There's a
Rios will
lot
stay
of
back.
reason to suggest that Teresa and her son would want to stay back, and that possibly as a result, Rios would want to stay back.
And he would end up having to stay back. Like, he'd end up having to because something
there's
goes
some
wrong on the ship.
contrivance, right?
Yeah.
There is a series of counter arguments, however, and we can then discuss which ones where the balance goes. The counter arguments are thus: counter argument number one. Rio staying behind is not a good idea, just generally speaking, from time travel rules. There would be a lot of resistance to wanting to do that. People might even argue that you would have to shoot him with a phaser or something to vaporize
Because
him.
it's apparent, it's generally okay to travel forward in time and stay there, but it's not okay to travel back in time and stay there.
There would be a concern about that just at a baseline, right?
The
And
fabric of the universe would be in jeopardy.
There'll be some kind of paradox.
then there's the thematic argument, which says that since so much of this has been following Star Trek 4, that they might be doing another modification on Star Trek 4. You have argued that the twist on it would be that instead of somebody joining them with the future, one of the crew members would stay behind.
and Teresa already mirrors a lot of properties of the Doctor from Star
But
Trek 4.
yeah, exactly. So she could be, mirroring Star Trek 4 would work. To my mind, though, I think the main thing they might do, as long as they're paying attention to the lore of Star Trek, is this is 2024. We know that in the not too distant future, it's the whole Earth is going to break out into fucking World War III, and that's in the good version of the future.
World War
right.
III.
Right, World War III happens in between 2024 and when Zefram Cochrane is cobbling together the first warp drive in Montana on some shady, like semi-post-apocalyptic world, because people are still recovering from the horrors of World War III, which was some sort of nuclear hellscape.
World War III.
If writers have recalled this fact, that is a good argument for Rios to basically say, I know enough about our history that this is about to be real bad for these two people.
Yeah.
This boy is going to grow up.
That's an interesting point.
And endure a World War III hellscape and quite
Right.
probably die as a result.
Yeah. Okay.
Because billions of people died or whatever.
That's fair.
And so that might be an argument to put them on the ship and bring them forward. And then, as you said, Dan, it seems to be less of a problem to bring people forward, unless by removing them from the timeline, like it makes everyone disappear because
Oh yeah,
they weren't born or something like that.
That'd be some super duper forward, backwards, future rules, time rules.
The cool part is it's a television show and it's
$20
never
now.
ever made any sense.
It's never
ever.
There's no expectation for it to make sense.
Yes.
It's only expectation to have it make no sense so you can laugh
Star
about
The
it.
rules only have to work in the context of the story they're telling at the particular time.
Right. There were bloody handcuffs. Picard's handcuffs were bloody for some reason on the.
And I couldn't tell, was those Picard's handcuffs or was those just theatrical?
Yeah, I don't know.
We're going to
Yeah,
have
just
some
had some-
handcuffs
had
and some
some
blood.
I thought they were
To
Picard,
look
but
scary.
I don't know.
But does
That
he
was
have
weird.
blood?
There was bloody handcuffs on that cop guy.
Because they didn't show his wrist be bloody that I saw.
Right.
How does he have blood?
No, if you look at the table, there's handcuffs laying on the table, and there's
Yeah.
No,
blood under.
I totally saw that, but does Picard have, I'm just asking, Picard,
Does he have his
blood?
handcuffs
I
on?
didn't notice any blood.
Oh, does he have blood because
Does
he's
he
a robot?
He's a robot.
But
he's a flesh and blood robot.
Yeah,
He's a Cylon style robot where
He's
you
kind
can't
of like
tell the difference.
The Terminator has blood. Terminator.
Cylon and Garfunkel.
Yes.
What is that? That's from Futurama.
Is that?
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, sorry.
That's funny.
That's good.
James Callis and Alexander
Alexander
Siddig
Siddig
and what's the other Loki who plays Loki? Tom Hiddleston.
Yes,
yeah.
Tom
Hiddleston. Those are all the same Cylon model.
Yes, I think they are.
Yeah, there was bloody that dude, that cop dude. He seemed like a real tough guy at first, but it turned out he was kind of a goofball.
He was always a goofball. He was a confident, assertive goofball. Because remember, even when he was in Guinan's bar, it was too sincere when he was saying like sometimes you need a little extra.
Yeah.
With all this ordinary.
Right. That was funny.
Yeah.
The only thing is that he was noticing there was a bruise on Picard's hand, but that was from the IV, so that was.
And he said it was from the IV, which is what
not
led
the
him to the
same.
clinic.
And then Picard was like, "I was dehydrated. After all, I'm only human."
I thought he was going to say like, after all, I'm like 100 fucking years old.
I was expecting an age comment also. Yeah.
When Guinan like said to the cop dude, she's like, "Work a lot, don't sleep." Comes in all wrinkled with your huge mug of coffee.
Yeah.
I'm a
Wrinkled.
bartender. I've seen your kind before. I thought she was basically going to say, "You're a terrible alcoholic." Is what I thought she was going to say.
Yeah.
But it didn't go in that direction at all.
Because
So-
before she was dissing on him. She was like, "No, you're a wine guy."
Yeah, right.
You're not a bourbon guy.
Yeah, that's
you're a
right.
wine guy.
I think you can muster up some pretty good alcoholism on just wine.
Well, yeah, but like,
Box wine?
You just got to put your mind to
but
it.
like people make fun of you.
I mean, box wine, you black out, man. Bad stuff will
Oh
happen.
yeah, wine is no joke, dude. Wine,
Yeah.
I don't drink wine.
And the cop was
it leads to problems.
yeah, the cop actually, and that dude Wells Fargo guy, he took off his jacket at that one point, like he was rolling up his sleeves, like he was gonna like beat up Picard at that one point.
I think that was he was trying to be intimidating.
Yeah, and I wasn't buying it.
I know.
He probably put the
I
blood
know.
there, and you know.
And speaking of buying it, I'm not entirely convinced that Picard could have convinced Wells to reveal his secrets simply by asking. I mean,
Well,
Picard,
he asked really nicely.
He asked really nicely, and that guy gave up a lot of his past, like right from the start, which is, I don't know, it's not a big deal. Who cares? But it's kind of like
I accepted
was
it
like,
in
I
the
don't know.
context of this guy. He actually believes this guy's an alien.
Yeah.
Right? So in
And
the
he is
context,
and he is a goofball.
yeah, he's like, I actually believe that guy is an alien for real, and I'm talking to an alien, and the alien's just asking me to tell the truth. The camera's not on. Nobody's gonna hear me. Why don't I tell him? Because what's it gonna hurt? That's the way it makes sense. If you thought he was like just a criminal or something, or wasn't sure, then maybe he would be more reticent to talk about his past. But he also seems to have wanted to and needed to for like maybe just
seems like it's some issues.
help him unload that a little bit.
And I thought it was also interesting that Rio's throwaway joke statement he gave to Ice about
that
was
coming
supposed
back.
that was supposed to be a throwaway kind of joke thing, but yeah, it came back and then actually fucked with it. I thought
Somebody
was
wrote
kinda
that
clever.
shit down. yeah.
Picard was all like, "Nah."
You
Patriot
They called him
Act.
crusty old man.
It's a Patriot
Crusty
Act.
old admiral,
Crusty old man, full of green dust.
dusty old bones full of green dust. King of the Hill, the episode called Hank's Bully.
I also like when Q says that humans are trapped in the past. I like the Guinan spin on it was that humans live in the past until they're able to reconcile it,
Yeah.
even if it's painful. Because
It's
after
a
a while,
positive twist
It's
on
a
it,
positive
actually.
twist, and I understand that it's important to get like the sort of the negative side of it too, being like, you guys gotta, don't live in the past, man, move forward. But sometimes it's like, maybe there's a reason we do that, and maybe there's a very many unhealthy reasons we do that, but it's based upon something that's probably
It's part
has
of the
potential.
human condition.
Right. And so I
It's
like
something
that
we
they
always have to work with.
I like that they spun it on like a positive light.
Odds and ends.
When BQ Roddy dropped Raffi on the ground, they played a snare beat that sounded like the 20th century Fox music. It was like which I know is a common kind of beat. It's not owned by. I thought it was going to start going, but I didn't. I knew it wasn't.
I was wondering how much of it you were going to do. You just dropped like the last 5 measures.
I can't sing that high. I don't remember the
You just
oboe.
lower the register. If you
Yeah,
can't
but
sing
I mean,
higher.
but I started
'cause
too
you already
high.
I know
I already
you
started. I
already.
didn't want to change keys.
Yeah, I understand.
I don't want
It
to seem
is
like a
awkward.
fool. I don't want to look foolish.
Yeah, we could do some auto tuning. Post.
You do it in
editing
post.
here.
Has anybody noticed how like sometimes you've been able to skip through the credit main title sequence, and sometimes
it
you
doesn't
haven't?
have the skip button.
Yeah.
Skip.
It was
skip
like
bow.
the first couple, and then not.
I think
and
that's a
then now
Paramount-
and now it's back.
that's a
It's-
Paramount
is it
Plus
some kind of glitch
Thing. It is not the perfect
Yeah.
app to use.
You can always skip through the recap.
Did you ever play the card game Skip Bow?
Yeah.
No,
was
never
all
heard of
right.
it.
was
Never
all
heard of
right.
it.
Never heard of it.
I used to play a lot of Canasta.
Nasty. You nasty.
Euchre.
Odds and ends.
Euchre.
Odds and ends. Any left?
When Wells, he was talking about dropping the image into the database, and boom, you get the facial
You did a
recognition.
Google reverse image search.
Well, it was. Well, I mean, it
Tiny
was,
Eye or
it
whatever
was.
they
It
call
was a little, probably a little bit more complicated than simply a Google reverse.
I think it's
image.
just a drag and drop into the FBI
and
just
drop.
has the same version.
No,
they
I
have the,
know.
they have, like
it's
the Google.
No, I
Drag and
mean
drop.
it's the same. It's the same.
They like
technology.
license it from Google.
No, I think no. It goes beyond Google because there's one called OpenCV.
Come on, it's 2024.
No,
Come
look-
on. It's beyond Google. Come
Here,
on.
well, no. What I'm saying is, it already exists. That technology exists outside of Google. There's for Linux, they have OpenCV. It's this open source like facial recognition, object recognition software. And then they have like Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure. They have those. It's like there's all over the place. There's all sorts of these things. And basically, I was trying to say that, and Google has it too, right? So, but it's like you can access it. You can access the technology yourself if you want to, and code your own shit. But not even 10 years ago, that wouldn't have been so common. Maybe not even possible. I mean, I think 10 to 15 years ago, nobody was talking about anything like that. They were
like, don't talk.
they were it was still
They
about
certainly weren't talking about it on Star Trek.
they thought of it as like more science fiction, and it became a reality real fast.
2024 in Deep Space Nine version of 2024.
Yeah.
As I've commented on repeatedly, they don't have the internet and they have computers built into giant desks.
Yeah.
Crazy
With their
consoles.
terminals, and they look all
Yeah.
futuristic, and they don't have cell phones.
And that's why I said Raffi was like, in the 21st century, everything's all the systems are linked, and
Yes.
I think except not in DS9.
See if you listen to a few episodes back for Dan's extensive, detailed, and thoroughly interesting discussion on linked computers versus unlinked computers.
He says thoroughly interesting because I was trying to convince them that I was making an interesting point, and they're like, "Sure, Dan."
And I was almost convinced.
almost. But
was
then you
almost
remembered you didn't
convinced.
have to be
No, I was challenged. I was in a positive way.
challenged. All right. People
Final odds and ends.
I don't listen to
We're gonna wrap it up.
wrap it up.
Wrap it
Yeah,
up.
wrap it up.
So I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Raffi was saying that people have trouble with revolving doors in 2024. I know she was making a joke, but I don't know. That was kind of a weird sort of like.
Well, I have
It's 2024. People have trouble with revolving doors. Like how would
revolving
you-
doors are problematic.
They are, and
You
it's
just got to go one at a time.
Yeah.
and then people always
Yeah.
And if it's an automatic one, don't get too close to the door. It'll automatically stop.
But it's always been the common joke, right? That revolving doors are like all confusing to people. So we have to assume that she didn't learn this from watching media. She actually witnessed it firsthand. People having trouble with revolving doors in their short time.
it's
on the
LA,
planet.
dude. They're in fucking LA.
Okay. Do you think there's revolving doors in LA all over the place?
Yeah, and there's a bunch of bozos.
All right.
Okay, well.
I think that probably concludes our major discussion points
I got nothing.
about mercy.
Mercy.
Mercy. Mercy me. They've released the name of the next episode, but I've forgotten it.
You
Because I
motherfucker.
don't have my notes, and I've forgotten it.
I used to know.
I think it's
and
called
then I forgot.
I think it's called hide and seek. I think it's called hide and seek.
It's called
uh,
Namby Pamby Wambies.
Let's assume it's called hide and seek.
Flippity
And
flams.
next week, you're going to hear us talking about Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 9, the penultimate episode of the season.
Penultimate,
called
yes.
Hide and seek.
Are you sure it's called hide and seek?
I don't know, but I think it's called hide and seek.
Obfuscate and investigate. That's what it's called.
But while you're
Obfuscate.
waiting for that particular episode to drop, you can contact us at feedback@itsgotstartrek.com with any comments or questions. Even better is start a conversation on Twitter at It's Got Star Trek on Twitter.
Apple Podcasts.
You can also find us on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and all sorts of places. And most finally, www.itsgotstartrek.com. Find all sorts of features down by the website.
There's a lot of delightful features.
All sorts of delightful features. If you investigate the website,
search engines.
you can click on things and organize things is great. But
there's pictures of us.
Are you sure there's a title?
Yeah, I think it's called Hide and Seek, but it's okay. We can end the episode without too much concern because I'm pretty sure our audience will not get too ornery with us.
What's in a name?
You get ornery about it though, Patrick.
No, I get ornery when they don't release the title at all. But they released the title. I didn't write notes. I think it's Hide and Seek.
Well, then why do you
based off of memory.
why do you get ornery when they don't release it at all? If you don't care to mention it during
insulting.
the episode,
I find it insulting.
Oh, you take it personally.
I find it insulting because these episode names do not give away the plot. Mercy.
So you think they're doing? Wait, you think they're
2 of 1? It only
You think
2
they're-
of 1 doesn't make any sense until you watch the episode.
So you think they're withholding the name because they're treating us like idiots because they don't want to ruin the episode?
No,
for us or
I
something?
think it's insulting and disrespectful that they think we can't handle the name.
So you think it's doing it on purpose? It's not like some kind of accidental shit because
Netflix on Stranger Things, they released the names of all the episodes like fucking 2 years in advance.
Yeah, but then Discovery went on a mid-season hiatus. We found out a week before it happened. So
yeah, and that was also insulting.
Yes,
that wasn't cool either. But I guess the difference being is that they probably have all the names of the episodes made before the season even
I'm
began.
gonna unsubscribe.
It's
from
every now and then
Paramount.
they've released a name title and then changed it later for one reason or another.
Who did?
They have done that. Yes.
Who did?
Wait, who did that?
It's happened before.
It's happened.
I forget.
I believe it was in Discovery. I think maybe
It may
season.
have
They
been
changed
Discovery.
the
season
name?
2.
Yeah.
But it was
shit.
they announced the title well before the airing, and then by the time it aired, the actual name was different.
So they just
That's happened a couple
they
times,
just
I
want to
think.
give themselves some breathing room in case they decide to change the name.
And
Maybe they're
I find
indecisive.
I find that insulting. I
Maybe
think they should have enough respect for us to know
Maybe-
that they should just not. It's not going to happen that often. We don't got to worry about it. Nobody's going to.
Maybe
scold
somebody,
them too bad.
maybe it's an insecurity for someone who works there. It's like, I just got to get the perfect name. Maybe it's just really egotistical, not insulting to you. They're just afraid that they came up with the wrong name and they don't want to.
So they're just pushing the deadline out.
They don't
That's
want
not
to hurt
helping
people's.
them.
They don't want to hurt people's
Look,
feelings.
I procrastinate.
I'm saying you're
just
taking
like
it personally.
the next guy, but
I don't think it's a personal thing. I don't
no,
think
no,
it's.
I don't. I'm not taking it personally.
Well, if
as
you
in
think it,
me,
fine,
Patrick,
no, but
Big
you take
Star
it,
Trek has it
but
in
you,
for
no,
Patrick
but you
fucking
take
Ireland.
it personally in the sense that you are part of the set of people that feels insulted. You're like, this. I'm part of these people. I think it's insulting to the audience. I'm part of the audience. Therefore, I feel insulted. I'm saying it's not malicious. I
know what
don't
else is
think
annoying?
I don't think it's malicious.
I don't like that they release the previews for the next episode
You think
first
it's delicious?
on StarTrek.com, and then you got to watch like a fucking 1 minute ad that you can't skip past before you get to watch the preview for the next episode.
Yeah, it's annoying when you have to watch an ad for an ad.
And then when you want to, and then yeah, exactly. And then if you want to watch it again because you're like, ooh, I'm all hyped up, I want to watch that again. You got to watch the same fucking ad again. Usually the same ad. Anyway,
I mean, it's also frustrating on websites when you watch the content and the content plays the ad and the ad is like super awesome and loads up fast, and then you get to the actual content and it's like this video cannot be played for some reason. I guess it's because they sourced it from a different place, but still, it's fucked up. You made me watch the ad. You wouldn't give me the content.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yes, the episode, according to Wikipedia, is called Hide and Seek.
I was correct. This has been another episode of It's Got Overreactions to Minor Gripes.
It sure was.
Catch us next week, and we'll be talking about that hide and seek. All right.
We will smell you later.
Doctor Dan, you can get the cookies in a second.
Yeah,
We're
I know.
almost
I didn't
done.
realize those cookies are so loud.
Almost done. All right.
Cookies.
Goodbye.
Those are
Next
cookie-
week. Goodbye.
cookie remnants.
Bye-bye.
Don't worry. It only stings for a moment.